how the way you dress can increase your income, but it doesn't have to break the bank. We get the inside scoop. Then, your mind and your money. Learn how they may be connected. And should you become a landlord or avoid the hassles and just invest your money? Real estate versus the stock market. All this and more on The Wealthy Life. Does the way you dress impact the amount of money you can earn?
I mean, just dress neat and clean, somewhat looks professional, but it doesn't. You don't have to invest in a very fancy outfit, because then I would think you probably invest more time taking care of yourself than my finance.
I think probably, yeah. You have to look like you deserve it, I guess.
Yeah. For sure. Exactly. I think so. If you go like a schlump into an interview, you're pretty well lost.
No. I know some very wealthy people who don't necessarily dress to the nines every day.
Today's guest is Tracy Drake, editor-in-chief and creative director for 2 magazines, including a style magazine called Niche. Tracy, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be here.
Have you always been into fashion?
I have, and I've always had an interest in what fashion does to enhance our life, and I think that's really the best way to describe it.
Well, everyone wants to look good, but we're also busy, and it's hard to know what looks good.
Absolutely. What's interesting to know is that what's good for one person is not necessarily good for another, and one of the things I do tell my style clients is understand your body type, understand your lifestyle, and understand your comfort zone, and then take that comfort zone and push it one step further.
That's great advice.
It is, and it's practical advice.
When people refer to dress for success, what does that mean to you?
Well, it's kind of that blown out statement where people go, oh, I don't want that corporate look. It doesn't have to be corporate. It can be fabulous, it can be trendy, it can be modern, it can be whatever you make it, but it needs to be you. And that way you walk with success, you act with success, and it propels you into your future.
Well, I know most of you could agree with me. When you dress well, you feel good about yourself.
Absolutely do.
Your confidence is boosted, you stand taller, you're more positive and happy. Makes it easier to get that job in that job interview if you're dressed for the part.
It absolutely does. And I think that what a lot of people miss is the personal touch, and that is be who you are, but dress for the job you want or the success that you see in your future. Whatever that happens to be, whether it's creative, corporate, leisure, it can be a number of things, and it can be different for everyone. But to be really sure of where you're going, and then let other people know that you're sure about where you're going, and how you look, how you hold your body, how you behave really reflects those goals.
I like to say fake it till you make it, or fake it until you are it. My very first job as a co-op student working at a brokerage firm, I went out and bought some suits. All the other support staff, and definitely none of the co-op students had suits, but they were dressed in, you know, slacks and a blouse. I wore full-on suits, and it made a difference. People looked at me like I was something.
Absolutely.
And I had all these great opportunities.
So if I could share just one little piece, I often speak to young women's groups who are just leaving school and how they can prepare for the next chapter in their life. And one of the things I often say to them is, I am a personal believer that there's no such thing as your big break. Everything that you have done in your life leads up to that moment, and that includes how you present yourself, how people take you, whether seriously or whatever that job niche happens to be. And I really feel like you work up to that. It's something that you work on.
Success is a choice. Now, I'm sure you probably have some examples for us. People don't know how great they can look. They may look good now, but they could look even better. Can you walk me through a few examples of people you've helped transform?
Absolutely. So I brought 3 great examples. One would be a young girl just finishing law school, heading out into the corporate world, and for the majority of her life she has worn jeans and sneakers to school, and now she really needs to step up, because not only is she going into a corporate world, but she needs to get the job. So the second woman that I would love to share the before and after with you is a mid-level professional, but not any mid-level. She's a creative, so she needs to really be herself, be comfortable in her jobs, quite agile. And then the third is a woman who has raised her children, And now she has that daunting task that many of us face where she needs to go back to work. And how does she take that and translate it into a great look?
So all three of these ladies are beautiful women.
Oh, absolutely beautiful.
And I think they look pretty good.
They did. They absolutely did. The befores were great, but to take them into a position where they can use their style to propel their future, we needed to take it one step further, and I think that's what we did.
Well, don't go away, because when we come back, we're going to see these amazing transformations, just as you've described.
The Wealthy Life is brought to you by investment dealer Raymond James. Life well planned. See what a Raymond James advisor can do for you.
Welcome back. We're here with Tracy Drake to have a look at the fabulous transformations. Tracy, before the break, we were talking about the importance of dressing for success, and you've had a huge impact in the lives of 3 women. Let's have a look at those transformations.
I'm excited to share them with you. So Nadia, our first transformation, she's the student heading out into the corporate law world and on a very limited budget. So our first look is a beautiful blue suit that is corporate but not too serious. She's a young girl. She should celebrate her age as well as her success.
She looks stunning.
Oh my gosh. And just what a little bit of makeup and a little what I call spit and polish really does to enhance. You can see the difference in her walk from the before and after video. So I think that's really great. In her second look, we took things a little more casual, but still very stylish. And if you notice, we interchanged the shoes and the pants. So multitasking the wardrobe to make the most of the budget that she does have available.
I like the term making the most out of the budget.
Absolutely.
Music to my
Absolutely.
ears.
That's the dress for success key.
Wow, that's great. Let's talk about your second person.
So Danielle is a mid-level, mid-30s creative professional. So her job is very fluid. She's on the go, she's got a lot to do, and she wants to be herself. So I didn't want to transform her into something that she really wasn't. So we played with color blocking to help with her body shape and added some really great leather jackets to really accentuate who she is as a person.
Oh, she looks great and hip and confident.
Absolutely. And in the second look that we did for her, we toned her down. So if she did have to go to a meeting and, you know, be a little more professional, she's right on point with the shoes, with the jacket, and certainly with her confidence level.
Absolutely amazing. And the third transformation?
So maybe one of my favorites, and Debbie her children have left the nest and she wants to go back to work, and she was really sort of stuck in, and I don't want to say mom jeans, but in that what I call casual coma mode.
Yes, I can relate. I get there sometimes too.
It's a societal thing, and so she really wanted something that was her. Not overdone, not made up, and so we did a great pantsuit, very chic, very modern, but very age appropriate. And then we dressed her up in a beautiful Kate Spade dress that just looks amazing on her.
Oh,
and
this is incredible.
And I think she ended up purchasing everything that we put on her. She was so happy with what her after looks were.
And these 3 women looked great before, I thought, but they look amazing after. And I love how you've styled their clothing to fit their body types and their personality.
I'm a big believer that that's the key. Fortunately, it's not a one-size-fits-all world.
No.
We're all different shapes, different sizes, different people. Designer Anne Klein said it best. She said that clothing does not change the world, but the women who wear the clothing do.
Oh, I love that quote.
I agree. And so I think that when you feel good, you emote a more confident self. You put your best foot forward, you put your best self forward.
And you get noticed. And you know what? If you get noticed, that opens up a whole world of new opportunities. And dressing for success really can tie in to a healthy financial situation.
Absolutely.
Tracy, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you.
And thank you to our 3 lovely models for exposing their before and afters with all of us today. And stay tuned. Your mind and your money is up next. Is there a connection? Find out.
The Wealthy Life is brought to you by investment dealer Raymond James. Life well planned. See what a Raymond James advisor can do for you.
With us today is Carol Lynde, President and Chief Operating Officer at Bridgehouse Asset Managers. Carol, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Sybil. So happy to be here.
I'd like to hear a little bit about your background. You've been in the industry for quite a while.
I have. I've been in the industry for 30 years. Started off as an accountant and was very fortunate early in my career to work for a gentleman who ended up being my mentor. And he pushed me along and got me into different management roles. I got very comfortable with that, and then I've continued along ever since.
I think everybody should have a mentor because it's that somebody that's helping you try new things and
Absolutely.
step up to the plate.
Encourage you, give you confidence, and it's really important to pass that on as well.
And now you're in the role you're in because of it.
I think so. Yes, I do believe that.
We're going to talk today about mental health and the impact that has on your finances. Because your state of mind really does play a role in how you manage your money. Would you agree?
Absolutely it does. And a lot of times people think that managing money and building your wealth is all about what's happening in the economy and the news and politics and all of that. But of course,
The noise.
The noise, all of that noise. But of course that's not true. Managing money and building your wealth is really about managing yourself. And you need to understand yourself, and you need to understand your personality and your predispositions. You need to understand your behaviors, your investor behaviors, and you also have to guard your mental health. And that can be very, very impactful if there are any issues surrounding that.
So tell me a little bit about some of the types of mental health issues that you would see from your perspective and how they impact people's decision making or their wealth creation.
Well, Sybil, you know, in the financial industry, we haven't really talked about mental health issues, and I think
And we
now,
should.
and we
really should.
We should. But within society right now, we don't really talk about mental health issues or money. They're both really taboo topics. But what's happened now is 1 in 5 Canadians will experience a mental health issue in any one year. And we need to understand that there will probably be a financial impact around that.
So that means almost every one of you viewers is going to be touched either directly or indirectly by mental health issues.
Absolutely. So, you know, we can think about an individual who may be suffering from depression and may not be able to go to work. So what's going to happen to them in terms of building their plan and their retirement for the future? What about a person who has a gambling addiction and the household finance impact of that? And then think about the older people in our society with dementia or you know, diminished financial capacity, which is what we call it now. They will be very vulnerable. So it's very important for Canadians and financial advisors to understand the impact of mental health on your finances.
It is. And working with a financial advisor, hopefully financial advisors are aware of some of the cues or some of the warning signs so that they can better help the clients.
So what we've done, because we've now linked this at Bridgehouse, mental health to money as an appropriate reason for financial advisors to help an individual. We think that it's really important that a financial advisor, of course, can't diagnose a mental health illness, but they may identify an individual who is behaving differently than they typically do. And they should be concerned about that, and they should help. And so what we've done is put resources together so advisors can take a look at those resources and help their clients and provide that information to the client.
That's wonderful, because I think it's hard for a lot of advisors or just people in general to deal with those issues head on. It's a difficult conversation to have, but it's an extremely important conversation to have.
It's a very important conversation.
So knowing you're there to help those that need the help is great, reassuring.
But again, you need to differentiate between mental illness and mental distress. And mental illness is a medical condition that obviously needs medical professionals and specialists, where mental distress are those things that happen to us in life that we have no control over. So it could be a divorce, it could be the death of a family member. So many things that we can't control but are certainly within our lifetime we will probably experience.
Could be stock market noise.
It could be stock market noise, but what's important for the financial advisor is to understand that the investor still needs to manage their finances through either one of those scenarios, if it's mental illness or if it's mental distress. And it's important for them to help the individual through those periods of time.
And you know, this just emphasizes the importance of having a financial plan. Every viewer should have a financial plan, no matter what your situation is. A financial plan sets your goals, has a look at what you need to do to get there, and no matter what's going on in your life, sticking to the plan will help you make the right decisions. Easier said than done, I know.
Oh, absolutely. But it's really important that we understand that we can only control what we can control.
Yes.
And we can only control ourselves. We can control our actions and our reactions. And it's really important, again, to be able to work with that financial planner to make sure that, you know, they're keeping you honest, that they're keeping you on plan, and they're making those adjustments when it needs to be done.
Now, fear and greed, how does that come into play?
Well, that's really an interesting topic. Fear and greed in investing really causes investors to do something that's not good for them. So
to do the opposite of what they need to do.
To do the opposite, that's exactly true. So when we think about fear, if the markets are going down, we're all very, very afraid, and we think that we have to sell everything at that point in time. And then, of course, you're selling low. Greed is the opposite of that. So when the markets are going up and everybody's jumping on the bandwagon and we're thinking, hey, this is great.
Let's buy.
Let's buy. It's never going to go down. Well, that's not true. It probably will go down right after you buy. So you're buying at a high. So fear and greed is, again, one of those things that causes us as investors to do absolutely the wrong thing. And again, that financial advisor is there to support and keep you steady and consistent in terms of the plan that you have.
Now, we're all human. We have feelings. We have emotions. But would you say that the more a person looks at their investment portfolio, the more emotional they will become?
Absolutely.
And maybe higher chances of making bad decisions?
Absolutely.
So I know that your organization has put together this fabulous life wheel. And I'm just going to spin it here because it allows me to decide, do I look at my portfolio daily, monthly, quarterly, or yearly? And as a result of that, there's stats that have shown the percentage chance I will have of seeing a gain. So I'm only going to look at my portfolio once a year and, wow, I have a 93% chance of seeing a gain if I only look once a year.
And there's a happy face.
There's a happy face, which is great. So if any of our viewers would like their own wheel of emotion, by all means, get in touch with us at thewealthylife.com. Carol, thanks for being on the show today. That was very insightful.
Oh, thank you very much, Sybil. It was lots of fun.
And when we return, investing in real estate versus the stock market, which is better? Welcome back. Thanks for your letters, emails, tweets, and messages. Today's question is from Sharon in Ottawa. Dear Sybil, I saw your show about stocks versus real estate. Is there any way to invest in land or real estate without being a landlord? And what about big stock market crashes? The next one looks like it could be a doozy, given everything I read in the paper and hear on the news. Sincerely, Sharon in Ottawa. Well, Sharon, first piece of advice, don't believe everything you hear and read in the news. There's a lot of noise out there and it can make people scared and fearful. The stock market does go up and down over time, but so does real estate. It's just real estate movements are not as noticeable because people only get a value once a year when they see their property assessment. And we all know those assessments aren't even all that accurate. But a question for you is, why real estate? If you're like many people, there's a preference for real estate. I think it's just because of how we were brought up. You can touch it, you can feel it, you can see it. Whereas stocks, they're a little bit harder to relate to. Learning more about the stock market will make you feel more comfortable about what those investment options are. And at the end of the day, it's all about making a truly informed decision. Now, to answer your question, yes, you can own property or real estate without having to pay a bunch of, well, you can pay a bunch of fees, but without having to be a landlord. If you buy land, unless you rent it as farmland, you're still going to be responsible for the property taxes and all the expenses, but won't have any income coming in. So that's a pretty expensive piece of investment to hold on to. When you look at stocks, there's fees to invest in a stock portfolio, but you're getting dividend income to offset that. When you look at a rental property, if you don't want to be a landlord, you can always hire a property management company. They typically charge about 10% of the value of the rents coming in, but then they will take over the responsibilities on a day-to-day basis of finding tenants. You still have to pay all the expenses though, so if there's a leaky toilet, they'll take care of getting it fixed, but the bill is going to go to you. Now, something important to remember is over time, long periods of time, I'm talking 50 years, stocks have historically considerably outperformed real estate. And most people already have the majority of their investments in real estate, namely their primary residence. So like any investment strategy, you want to make sure that you are really well diversified. And before you invest in either stocks or real estate, have a look at the numbers. Go to thewealthylife.com to have a look at our property valuation analyzer to see if a rental property is suitable for you. And that wraps up this edition of The Wealthy Life, helping Canadians make smart financial decisions. Join the conversation on social media and tell us your story. Go to thewealthylife.com to ask your financial question to make the most out of what you have.